If you're serious about prepping and building a pantry that lasts, you need to hear this. Prepping isn't just about stockpiling, it's about stockpiling smart. Unfortunately, many people are doing it wrong and wasting time, money, and space on foods that just don't make the cut. Here's the blunt truth. Some foods go bad faster than you think, lose their flavor entirely, or even attract pests that could ruin your hard work. If you've got flour or boxed cereals that you think will hold up for years, you're already making mistakes. These aren't just small errors. They can completely derail your long-term storage plan. Don't stockpile foods that spoil quickly, lose nutrients, or take up valuable room in your pantry for no reason. It's time to build a supply that actually works when you need it the most. Stick around as we reveal the 5 biggest prepper pantry mistakes so you can create a smart, long-term storage plan that's both practical and nutritious. Seriously, there's no room for error when it comes to survival. And before we jump into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more no-nonsense prepping tips coming your way. Don't waste another second on foods that won't stand the test of time. Point 1. Canned tuna. All right, let's talk about canned tuna. A lot of people swear by it as a go-to protein for their long-term food storage. And sure, it sounds great in theory. We're pounded with the idea of just toss in a few cans and you're set for years. But here's the reality nobody wants to tell you about. Canned tuna is not the bulletproof survival food you've been led to believe it is. Far from it. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Ever eaten tuna that's been sitting in your pantry for a couple of years? If you haven't, congratulations, you've dodged a mushy, disappointing bullet. Fresh out of the can, tuna is supposed to be firm and flaky. But keep it around long enough and it starts to morph into this sad, squishy mess that barely resembles food. At that point, you're not eating tuna for enjoyment. You're eating it because you have no other options. Even if you're thinking, oh, I can handle the texture, just wait till that time comes. Spoiler alert, most people don't. And that's not even the worst part. Ever heard of mercury? Yeah, that thing found in thermometers. Well, say hello to one of canned tuna's biggest dirty secrets. Tuna, depending on where it's sourced from, can contain harmful amounts of mercury and other sketchy contaminants. You're slapping that onto your sandwich thinking it's healthy, when in reality, you might be munching on slow poison. Not great for the body, especially if you're anticipating making this your main protein source in an emergency. Still not convinced to reevaluate your stash? Here's my challenge to you. Go grab the oldest can of tuna in your stockpile, open it up, give it a good look and maybe a taste. Is it still something you'd willingly eat in a survival situation? If not, it's time to admit the truth. Some brands hold up better than others, sure, but the longer it sits, the more its quality takes a nosedive. Look, prepping isn't just about stacking shelves like your doomsday shopping at Costco. It's about stocking smart. Quality matters. If your canned tuna is turning to mush or possibly poisoning you, why waste your time? Rotate your stock regularly. Better yet, pivot to protein options with proven shelf life and less risk, like freeze-dried meats or high-quality beans. Anything but tuna, unless you want to gamble on questionable food when you need it the most. Bottom line, canned tuna might look good sitting on that shelf, but it's fool's gold. Don't fall for it. Cut it out of your long-term food plan and focus on reliable, safe choices. Trust me, future you will thank you. Point 2. Canned vegetables or fruits you don't like. All right, listen up. This one's as simple as it gets, yet so many people still get it wrong. Stop stockpiling canned vegetables and fruits that you know you don't even like. Seriously, you think a survival situation is going to magically make canned beets taste good? Spoiler alert, it won't. Here's the problem. Too many preppers fall into the trap of bulk buying whatever is cheap or seems smart without asking themselves one simple question. Would I actually eat this stuff? If the answer is no, then stop. You're wasting your time, money, and valuable storage space. If you can't stand canned apricots now, why on earth would you want to gag them down in a high-stress situation? Buying food you hate isn't prepping, it's self-sabotage. Imagine this. You're in a crisis. You're stressed, tired, and relying on your food stockpile for survival. You reach for a can of mushy, lifeless spinach or slimy peaches that you regret even buying in the first place. And it hits you. You'd rather go hungry than force yourself to eat it. Now tell me, what's the point of storing food if you're not going to eat it? It's not just a mistake, it's downright foolish. Here's another thing people overlook. Canned produce is already a downgrade when it comes to flavor and texture. I mean, let's be real, a canned peach will never, ever taste like a fresh one. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Over time, some of these canned goods get even worse. The texture turns to mush, the flavor becomes more processed, and sometimes you're left with something barely edible. And if you hated it to begin with, this sure isn't going to improve your opinion. What's worse is the nutritional value of these products can also degrade over time. You're stocking up on what you think are healthy food options, but if they've been sitting on your shelf for 5 years, they might just be a can of empty galleries. Is that really how you want to fuel your body in an emergency? I didn't think so. Here's the bottom line. The foundation of a good prepper pantry is versatility, nutrition, and foods that you actually like to eat. Don't be lazy. Taste test your options before you buy them in bulk. If you can't stomach something now, you're definitely not eating it during a crisis. Stop wasting space on things that'll sit untouched. Prep smarter. Choose foods that you love eating and will look forward to when times get tough. Anything else? Ditch it. 3. Crackers. The stale mistake you don't want to make. Crackers might seem like a quick and simple snack to store, but here's the harsh truth. These aren't the pantry saviors you think they are. In fact, crackers are one of the absolute worst choices for long-term food storage. Why? Because they go stale faster than you can say, "What's for dinner?" Their high fat content leads to rancidity over time, especially when exposed to air and fluctuating temperatures, making them inedible garbage in just a matter of months. When you're prepping for emergencies or long-term needs, wasting precious pantry space on something that turns into a crumbly, tasteless pile of regret is just plain reckless. Sure, crackers might seem convenient now, but don't fool yourself into thinking they'll stay that way. The packaging doesn't help much either. Most crackers come in flimsy, non-airtight sleeves that do little to protect them against moisture, pests, or air exposure. Plus, if you're banking on snack-time favorites like saltines or flavored crackers, be prepared for disappointment. Not only do they lack nutritional value, but their shelf life is abysmally short compared to other food storage options. Once they've passed their prime, they're nothing but wasted calories and wasted money. A smarter option? Stop relying on store-bought crackers altogether. If you love crackers so much that you can't imagine living without them, learn to make your own at home. With basic ingredients and a vacuum sealer, you can create homemade crackers that are fresher, tastier, and stored in more durable packaging. But honestly, your best bet is to ditch crackers altogether when stocking up for emergencies. Focus on durable, high-quality alternatives like hardtack or even dry grains that can hold up against the test of time. The bottom line? Crackers are out. Don't waste time, effort, or precious storage space on something that's going to betray you when you need your supplies the most. Save yourself the headache and invest in foods that are actually built to last. It's blunt, but true. Crackers simply don't make the cut for long-term food storage. Point 4. Breakfast cereals. Breakfast cereals might sound like an easy win for your emergency food stash, but here's the cold hard truth. They're a terrible choice for long-term storage. Yeah, they're convenient, especially if you've got kids. But don't kid yourself into thinking they'll stay edible for years. Newsflash, they won't. Most cereals are designed for short-term consumption, not survival situations. Stockpiling them for the apocalypse? Big mistake. Here's the problem. Cereals go stale. And I don't mean, oh, it's just not as crunchy. I mean they turn into sad, flavorless little bits that taste like cardboard. Over time, their texture changes too, and not in a good way. And you know what else? The flimsy packaging these cereals come in? Useless. It does nothing to protect them from things like moisture, air, or even pests. One tiny hole or tear in that box, and congratulations, you've just served up a buffet for bugs. But wait, it gets worse. Let's talk about what's actually in these cereals. Most are packed with artificial junk like preservatives, fake flavors, and enough sugar to give you an instant headache. Oh, and don't forget those high levels of GMOs. Sure, they might keep your kids happy on a Saturday morning, but do you really want this loaded with your emergency food supply? When push comes to shove, this sugar-laden chemical soup isn't going to provide the nutrition you or your family actually need to survive. Now, I get it. You might love your Cap'n Crunch or that sugary fruit cereal with the colorful box, but you have to face reality. These aren't reliable long-term storage options. Even if you try to extend their shelf life by storing them in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, at best you're buying yourself a little extra time. And honestly, it's not worth the hassle. They won't last anywhere near as long as real survival staples like oats or beans. Speaking of oats, if you're out here hoarding cereals, you'd be way better off with plain old-fashioned oatmeal. It lasts for years and doesn't come with all the artificial garbage. Plus, it's actually versatile. You can use it for breakfast, incorporate it into baking, or even stretch meals if you're in a bind. Unlike cereals, oatmeal earns its spot in your prepper pantry. Bottom line, breakfast cereals are a waste of your emergency storage space. They spoil quickly, lose texture and taste, and offer practically zero nutritional value for the long haul. If you're serious about preparedness, ditch the cereal boxes and focus on foods that are durable, practical, and actually healthy. You'll thank yourself when the time comes. Point 5. Flour. All right, folks, it's time to talk about flour. If you're still throwing bags of this stuff into your long-term food storage, you're doing it wrong. Flour is one of the most overrated and mismanaged items in any prepper's pantry. Sure, it's cheap. Sure, it's versatile. But here's the catch no one likes to mention. Flour sucks when it comes to shelf life. First off, flour doesn't last forever, not even close. Over time, it goes stale and starts smelling like something that died in your pantry. That's right, flour can turn rancid thanks to the natural oils left in the milling process. This isn't something that might happen, it will happen, especially if you're not storing it properly. And here's a charming thought for you. Flour is pretty much guaranteed to come with a sprinkling of microscopic insect eggs. These beauties are just waiting for their moment to hatch into a full-blown swarm of flour weevils. Nothing says survival food win like opening a bag of flour only to find it's crawling with bugs, right? Trust me, if you've been lucky enough to avoid this nightmare, count your blessings. If you're still bent on storing flour, you need to freeze it as soon as you bring it home. Throw it in the freezer for at least a week to kill off any unwanted extras. After that, transfer it into an airtight container. Oh, and don't forget the oxygen absorbers, because without them, your flour is toast. But here's the thing, even if you do everything right, flour will still betray you. It's a ticking time bomb, with a shelf life of about 12 to 18 months max, even under ideal conditions. If you're serious about long-term food storage, why waste your time with something so unreliable? There's a better alternative, and it's called wheat berries. Wheat berries are like the uncut gem of the prepping world. These babies last years, and you can grind them into fresh flour whenever you need it. Not only does it taste better, but it's also way more nutritious and less likely to go rancid. Plus, you're not inviting bugs to take up residence in your stash. Bottom line, flour is a weak link in your food storage game. Stop winging it with questionable bags of powder that'll turn to mush or become bug chow. Ditch the flour and invest in whole wheat instead. If you're serious about prepping, make smart choices now so you don't end up with a pantry full of ruined supplies later. Trust me, future you will be glad you listened. When it comes to long-term food storage, it's all about making smart choices to protect your investment and ensure your supplies are reliable when you need them most. Avoid foods like white flour, oils, and overly processed snacks that are prone to spoilage or pests. Focus instead on durable, nutrient-rich alternatives that stand the test of time. With a little planning and the right selections, your stockpile will be a source of security and sustenance for years to come.